think one of the things that happens to managers, and maybe this happens to teachers as well, is that they'll look at the results and say, okay, I didn't get what it is that I was looking for, but they have no idea how they even got there to know what it is that they need to go back and tweak. So they're just looking at the results. And, as some sales managers, it's like, okay, you didn't meet your quota last month. What are you going to do to meet it this month? Is not exactly teaching.
Right. Exactly.
And fear definitely doesn't work. And I talk to managers a lot about having an understanding of what's going to motivate and drive that person to make any kind of behavioral changes, because that's the only way it's going to happen.
Yeah. That's so. Can I touch on that real quick?
Yeah.
That I think a lot of times in schools, students are like this. And I think that, children in schools, they obviously grow up to be adults in the workforce, and whether we're big or we're little, a lot of the same stuff happens, and they look at those results. You get this test back and, you've got an F and it's like bleeding red ink, or, you get your standardized test scores back and you're below, you're in this low percentile, and all of a sudden they start to take it upon themselves as, like personal defeat. And then it becomes part of their identification of themselves. And focusing on those results, just like you said, don't get them anywhere. Giving them some strategies they can try to improve. Again, looking at it like that scientist. Let's try something else and see if it works. And if it does work, great. And if it doesn't work, let's learn from it. Like, that's actually constructive. That's actually going to drive change. Sometimes talking about the results and being frustrated about the results and venting about the results makes you feel better. It doesn't actually change the results.
It actually sometimes makes them worse.
It does. You're right.
And I have seen in students, and I've seen it in salespeople, where they get put on plan, is what they call it, in the sales world. And when they get put on plan, a lot of times it's just a precursor to them leaving because they are disheartened. They're like, this is, the last ditch effort. It's like, it's overwhelming. And so they've got that cognitive overload going on, and they just regress. And a lot of times what happens too is I call it the cognitive dissonance between this is where they are, this is where they want to be. There's a gap there. And those who have a personally meaningful goal will do whatever it takes to bridge the gap. But if they haven't identified that goal, that motivator for themselves, they're going to retreat into the information that they have of themselves, of being better than they actually are. And they'll make excuses and these other things. One of the things that I heard you speak on, and that really rang with me, because a lot of times in sales, we're talking about getting and coaching to the results and coaching to the opportunity. And I heard you talk about one of the things that changed for you is that you realized that it's not just a student trying to pass a test, there's a person there. There's these things that are going on that are affecting them. And I was talking with another gentleman over the last week, Andy Paul, who he talks about, if you really want to get to the results that you're looking for and coaching to the opportunities and helping the students to learn, that you have to also consider the person that's behind this and their abilities and their confidence and all of those things. That it's not about them studying for the test, it's about them learning the material in a way that's natural to them. So how do you see that when you saw that change, or when you realized that, what was the precursor there?
There was a moment where that became so clear to me. And it was, again, I was a high school Spanish teacher, and I was teaching I think this was a Spanish 2 class. And part of that, their end of semester grade was that they had to do a presentation in front of the class. And I had this one student, and she was super quiet. She dressed a little differently than everybody else did. You might consider it kind of like the goth look, lots of black, lots of, like torn stuff, and the crazy makeup and the wild colored hair and everything. But she was real quiet. And I knew that, deep down inside, I knew that that doing this presentation on the outside was not really her style. It wasn't really going to reach her as an individual, but I stuck to my guns. And I said, look, you got to do this. You got to get over it, and you got to go. And it was just like what you were saying earlier. It's like looking at the results and saying, here's this gap. I want you to fly. It's like, here's the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
You need to get over here. I don't know how you're going to get over there, but you better find a cape, find a plane, find a helicopter, something. Get over that Grand Canyon over to the other side. And what'd she do? Dug her heels in.
Yeah.
said, I'm not going to do it. And I said, hey, you're going to bring these other 2 or 3 kids on your group down with you. I thought, certainly that's going to do it. She's like, not going to do it. I said, hey, you've got to get over this. Eventually you're going to have to talk to more than one person at some point in your life, no matter what it is that you do. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. And instead of trying to find a middle ground and help her figure out a way to get to what we needed. And the thing is that I taught a Spanish class. I wasn't teaching a public speaking class. What I really needed to know was her mastery of her skills in Spanish. So if I'd been able to meet her halfway, if I had found her a donkey so she could cross through the Grand Canyon instead of trying to fly over the top of it, then we both would have been better off. She would have had a better experience. After that, it was over. She took a couple more years of Spanish with me, but only because she had to, and there was never, ever another connection. So that was one place where I really started to see that myself.